Hey, it's Rich, the Louisiana hobby guy, and you're watching Lightburn for Noobs. Today we're going to be talking about using text and all of the tools that are in Lightburn. So let's jump straight into it. Let's go right over to Lightburn, and here I have some text, literally. So let's talk about the different tools that you can use on this text that we have here. And I've had a few people that have asked me, what are these things down here at the bottom? So these are your control handles up here. If you don't want, let's say you've designed something and you want to make sure it stays in the same place, then you can come down here and turn off the move right there. And now you won't be able to move this no matter what you do. Similarly, you can turn off the size, and you'll notice the corner handles have gone away. So that'll keep you from resizing it by mistake. You can also turn off the rotate, and you'll see these arrows disappear. And you can also turn off the shear. So when we turn off the shear, you'll see two dots right here disappear, and here they come back. And the shear is from side to side or up and down. So that's what these buttons on the bottom are. And pretty much most of the time, you're going to leave those alone. Just leave them all activated in the green. Additionally, up at the top of your screen, you're going to see this entire section right here. And this section is everything to do with text. You can actually pull this out if you see these vertical dots right here. Anywhere on the screen where you see vertical dots, your cursor will turn into 4 arrows. You can click, hold, and drag that out and bring it onto your workspace if you wanted to. And now you'll see it's lit up. Now it's not. If you don't have text selected, then nothing in here will be lit up. You have to actually select the text. So I prefer to have this up here in my main toolbar, so I'm just going to put it back. You'll notice that when you're putting it back, you have to wait until the area turns blue that you want it to be. All right, so now we've got that back in place. All of these tools up here are selectors for the text. So if we wanted it bold, we can just click on bold. And let me change the window style over here so you can see this a little better. I'm going to click on window. I'm going to come down here to filled course. And there you can get a better idea of what it looks like if your layer is set to fill. So if it's set to line, it'll look exactly the same. But you want to make sure that layer is set to fill, and then you can get a preview on screen of everything that you're doing. And I may have actually, there we go, that looks a little better. So now what we're going to do here is the next step. We're going to talk about bending text. And I have had a few emails about people that say they're trying to bend their text to fit on a coaster. So we'll draw out a representation of a coaster about 4 inches. Put it on a tool path so that we can work with it. Now we'll take the text, select the text, and the way this works is I want to align the text, I click on it, to the circle. I'll hold Shift, click on the circle. Now I want to line these vertically on centers, so I'll come up to this one here that says Align selected objects along their vertical centers. And there we go. And now I can just click on this, use my arrow key, get it to about where I want it, right there. And that's where I want to start curving it. And the issue that some people ran into was when they clicked on this blue dot right here and pulled down on it, it didn't curve to the circle. And let me show you why that's the case. So if your alignment, your X alignment or your Y alignment is not in the middle, then it won't curve to the middle. So if you, for instance, had align left selected here, you'll see that it will align to the left side of that coaster. Okay, does that make sense? If you had it set to align right, it will align to the right side of the coaster, like that. And, you know, I've had people that have told me, well, I want it to align to the middle. And they've inadvertently changed this from middle, which is your default setting. So now that we've got it in the default setting, we can just grab this little circle, not using any activator keys here, and just bring this down. You see the purple circle? That purple circle is our guide. So we should have an even circle on the inside there, something like that. And maybe we're off just a little bit because I have a terrible mouse. So I can align these again using vertical on centers. And that is pretty close to what you need there. But let's say that you had some text for the top, and then you had more text for the bottom, and they didn't actually line up. So let's just do that, and I'll show you a little trick here. So we'll do this. This is more text. And we'll grab that, put it on the black layer. Take this. I want to align this. It's selected. Shift to this, and do our vertical centers one more time. And now I'll move it into place. So now you can see we have a different amount of text letters here. So now I'll grab this one and move it up like so. And maybe I want these to be wider. So I'll come up to the top here and do my first one. And I'll come to right here where it says horizontal spacing. And what we can do is increase the amount of spacing. If you watch the graphic, you'll see I'm adding more space to the center. And then I've added 13 to that one. Now I can take this one and add more space to this one because we want this to pretty much wrap the whole coaster. And there you see, with a little more tweaking of this little blue button here to get it perfectly set, we can now wrap text all the way around the coaster, and just by increasing the spacing on it. And the same works for vertical text. So if I were to take, let's do text, more text. Let's do that. Okay, so let's select, that's one text object right there. Now, the question is, do you want it all centered like that? First, let's reset our horizontal space. We'll put that back to 0 so that it's regular text. And now the question is, I want these left aligned. I don't want them centered. Well, if you come over here, align, X, you can bring this down and click on left. Or if you wanted it right aligned, you could bring it down, click on right. Or you can have it in the middle. And the same thing goes for the align Y. You can align it to the top. You can align it to the bottom. And this, you'd be aligning it to another object here, or align it to the middle. And basically what that does is moves this blue button right here. So let me show you. See how it moved it to the top? We'll reset that. Move it to the bottom. And we'll reset that. And that's how all of these work. I prefer working with everything in the middle and then moving it around. So if you wanted to, in the middle of your design, change this, you can come up here to the top and do italic. You can do all uppercase. Now the distort, okay, so distort is something that you want to turn on when you're curving text around an object, because Lightburn does a calculation. I'll turn it off. Keep an eye on the graphic. See how it changes the text. So you do want to have distort on when you're distorting text. And it just makes it fit a little bit better than without. And that's, completely up to you. How you want to do that. So let's talk about some more working with text, because that's the purpose of this video. We'll get rid of that for now. Let's grab this piece of text over here, make it a little bit bigger, and let's talk about deforming this. So I'm just going to turn on distort for this one because we're going to distort this text again. So we can skew the text by grabbing these handles right here. We can skew that way, and we can skew this way or that way. So let's reset that. And also under the Tools menu up here, if you come down here to the bottom, you'll see two selections: warp the selection in 4 corners or deform the selection in 16 points. First one we're going to choose is warp selection in 4 points. And there you'll see the corners now turn into points where we can warp this text. So we can click, drag, and drag these out to where we want. We want like a 3D look like that. We can also hold Shift and drag, and that grabs both sides, as you see there. And we can distort this however we want. Now, let's say that you wanted a Star Wars look. I would hold Shift and bring that up high. Hold Shift again and bring this one out. And there you would have a Star Wars type of text if you had a bunch of text in there. And now we can reset our text. We're going to leave the distort turned on for now. And we're going to come into Tools, and we're going to go down to the Deform selection. And this just gives us 16 points instead of 4. And we can do the same thing here, but this gives us a lot more control of the actual text. So if we wanted to warp just the middle part, we could click on this and bring this up, bring this one up, bring this one up, and sort of make it look wavy. And we could even bring this one down. And then you could move these, hold Shift, out like that. Hold Shift here, it scales both sides. Holding Shift will scale both sides. Holding Shift over here will scale both pieces in the middle. And here you can distort it any way that you want. So this is another great tool, and once you select it, you're back to your text. So let's go back to our text again. Let's turn off our distort. Now we're back to regular text. And let's talk about editing text. Okay, so let's say now you have a lot of text. So I'm just going to paste in here a bunch of text. Okay, and let's get rid of this one over here. So there you can see that's a bunch of text. Most people are going to look at this and they're going to say, oh, I'll come in here and go to the text tool and I'll put my line breaks in here and see how this looks. Well, there's an easier way to handle a long line of text that you've copied from somewhere else. It doesn't come out as a paragraph. It comes out as one long line of text. That is to go to your gear icon up here on the top. When we click on the gear icon under the first tab, Editor Settings, you'll see Selection, double-click shows text edit dialog. And basically what that means is that when you double-click, it will bring up a notepad-like editor. So we'll say OK, make sure it's on, click OK, double-click the text, and there is our editor. And we can do all of our editing in this window instead of clicking in different places over here. So we know that we would want to have a line break right there. So I'll hold Shift and put in a line break for that. And we'll probably, after every every one here, every comma. We're going to want a line break, or we'll just look at this and follow along. Backspace, line break. Come over to here. Let's do a backspace line break. And this just makes everything much easier to handle. Backspace line break. Can you imagine if you were to edit that one big long line? Okay, it would be pretty hard. So we'll just do one more edit over here, backspace line break, and there we go. So now, maybe that's not what you want. You still have all of your controls that are up here. So let's do an align left like that. And we want it bold, we want it italic, and we want to increase the horizontal space by just a little bit like that. And now we have a perfect quote that is ready for engraving that you can size to whatever size that you want. So let's go ahead and size this to 6. And this is now ready to go. And you'll get a nice clear engraving, very easy to use, very easy to edit. Just remember, when you're done using your alignment tool, you want to put that back to middle after your job is over. Obviously not during your job. So for right now, we're going to use the left, as you can see right here. Now here's where you'll see a better idea of the V space. We already saw the H space. So if we want, we can now increase the vertical spacing in between here. You'll get a better idea of how that looks. There you can see. One thing you just do want to remember is when you're finished with this project and you go on to your next project, you want to make sure that you reset your alignment up here. So let's go back to middle and let's change our V space to 0 and our H space to 0. And now we're back to a regular text project. You have to remember that Lightburn will remember your last settings. And of course, something I didn't cover in here is the height up here. So this is going to be the height of your letters. You can put in a number here if you want a number, or you can just come over here and change the width or the height, and it will scale proportionately as long as your lock is turned on. Now you can also, with this selected, change the rotation. So if we put in 45, we can do a manual rotation on this. And if we put in negative 45, it would scale it the other way. And you can put any number that you want in here. If you wanted it 90, you can put any degree of rotation in here, positive or negative. And then finally, if you want some really unusual fonts, you can come up into your settings here. First, you would need to download them, and you can add some SHX fonts. And all you need to do is download some, put them into a folder, and then select right here the path to that folder. As you can see, mine is on my D drive. In my Lightburn folder, it's called SHX fonts. So I'm going to say OK to that. And you can find these for free, and you can just search free SHX fonts. And these are basically the fonts that the internet was created with. So if we come in here, when we look, you'll see TrueType, TT, next to it, or SHX. And the SHX fonts will give you some interesting results. So let's find another one. There's one. Now let's go ahead and put this into line, because these are line fonts. So we don't want this to be in fill. And you'll get a better idea now of what these will look like. So there's one, and most of these are going to be line, and a lot of these are not going to be grouped. So they may be two lines in one letter. So you don't ever want to do these in fill. You always want to do them in line mode. Let's come down and find a couple other ones. There you can see that looks like almost like a dot matrix. And there's another one and yet another one. And some of these are actually pretty cool. They all look similar. You will find some projects that you'll want to use these SHX fonts on. See, let's take a look at this one. And there are a lot of them in here. So there you can see is the font itself. And it's kind of weird. So you see there is an open shape right there in the middle. And if you put this into fill, you don't want to do these in fill. If you put it in fill, it's not going to come out properly because of the open shapes. But this could be a really neat looking font. There you have it. Quick, easy tutorial. If you're new to Lightburn and new to working with text, you can do just about anything that you want in Lightburn with all of the different text tools. So I hope you enjoyed this video today as much as I enjoyed making it for you. And as always, I want to thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.